Slander. We got temperature checks about the team.
Temperature check. Can it be ice cold or what?
Yeah, I mean,
Hot.
it's your temperature.
Hot like a Phoenix sunrise.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And basically, since nobody's gonna listen, we'll probably just review.
I'm out of this. I will play.
Did Jordan Clarkson make a 3 today? Oh my God, did Jordan Clarkson make a 3 today, guys?
He did, yes. It was his first shot.
Oh God, thank God. Okay, let's start there. That's what we're talking. That's what we're spending the half hour.
We should have a whole segment about that. I want to hear a Who tirade and like.
Trust me, I'm planning on talking about only that. So. What's up, folks? It's another edition. It's hitting the high notes. We are Losers Edition. It's Jazz Talk, and I am here. It is I. You can find me on the Twitterverse at Hootran, HUUTRAN, Superman. That's Hootran Superman. And, I fart in your general direction. To Jared Barker, go the distance 49. What's up, man?
We suck again!
Yeah. Boy, Jared, real quick, how do you feel?
How do I feel?
Yeah.
I feel like it was a frustrating but very fun game against the Suns today, and I just want to say this right now. Okay, for all you who listen to the podcast, I know you're pretty much diehard Jazz fans. For the people that tune in only to the national TV games, it's like I would say a bunch of really, really nasty things, but I don't want who to have to sit there and bleep a bunch of profanities. But, man, screw you guys for just coming and launching your hot takes, on the one game a year, the 2 or 3 games a year of Jazz basketball that you watch, instead of watching the team the whole year and actually having good takes about basketball because you know how the team plays, what their weaknesses are, and what their strengths are. So thank you very much, and appreciate those of you who listen and follow the team, because you people actually matter, unlike the freaking bandwagon fans that are half of this fan base.
I apologize because I knew as soon as I said real quick, Jared, it was not going to be. That's my bad. There are some who call him Tim.
Whoa!
It's Mr. Dragon Squatch. Logan Cox, what's up, Logan?
Yeah, did you say fart in his general direction? Did I hear that correctly?
Yeah, it's a John Cleese reference, Monty Python.
Yeah, I've seen him around, but I still don't know what he is. I almost asked and decided to Google instead and realized I would have made more of a fool of myself. But I don't speak Monty Python. But I had a lot of rage too, and Jared was getting me fired up, and then I saw on the TV I saw Dustin Johnson's beautiful, thick, luscious beard in it. I thought of Paulina Gretzky, and I calmed down quite a bit. So I think I'm in a better headspace now.
And you know what? We brought a guest on. He's a returning guest. He turned into a newt, but he got better. It's the Brown Bear. Brown Bear SLC. What's up, Brian Brown? Oh, you're on mute, sir.
What's a Paulina Gretzky?
It's like Wayne Gretzky with a lot of plastic surgery.
Okay.
Hey, what?
Host of Locked On Utes, part of the Locked On Network, which is not part of the Jazz Pod Co-op. It's
not yet.
We're coming for you, David.
Negotiations are ongoing.
Brian, how's it going, man? Logan was like, "Hey, do you mind having Brian on this week?" I was like, "Sure." He's actually been on before. He's like, "Really?" I was like, "Yeah." So I had to go look up your episode. It was actually almost a year ago, over a year ago, like March of 2020. It was like right around the pandemic you came on.
Seriously?
So how have you been since then?
Oh yeah, I've been great, man. Just nothing better than a year under a pandemic to improve your podcasting skills and get you excited to come back on. If all I have to do is live through a pandemic to come on once a year, sign me up.
Your podcast goes that better? Oh boy, I did something completely wrong during the pandemic then.
When are we getting some more lost episodes from Beehive Boys? Because we're all in on that.
The day that I'm not lazy and can get them cut up and produced, there's always money in the banana stand, and there's always podcast episodes to produce.
That's what like podcasting producing is like. It's not just like you go on record. Like for us, it's easier because I try to run clean shows where I don't have to do very much editing. But people who are better editors than me take more time and take more pride in the final product. As as was evident last week with all the crap that I dealt with audio-wise. But that was a great episode. Go check out Jazz Unitracker. He was very fun to have on with us.
Yeah, a couple of episodes. It was a really good listen. I wasn't on last week because I was in my bed, snug as a bug.
Gross.
So. Wow, Jazz Twitter After Dark live.
Yeah, true. Let's start it early. Dragon Squash Logan. I know you're excited for this. Let me just recap what happened since our last couple episodes. Jazz suck again. They lose to the Dallas Mavericks, and the Mavericks shoot I believe 230% from three. I didn't look up the stats beforehand, but that sounds about right. And then the Jazz go to Phoenix and lose to the best team in the West, the Phoenix Suns. Or soon to be, apparently, best team in the West and best team in the league, the Phoenix Suns. Dragon Squatch, knowing all that, what is the temperature check for you this week?
It's not a good one, and I can't promise, like Jared did earlier, that I'll be profanity free as I work my way through this. Leading up to this game, and I really try to stray away from this because I don't like to get in the middle of all the telling people how to fan. Like, it's not really my thing, and it's one of the most irritating things that happens when you get on the social media. But for the folks who've been telling us, that this game doesn't matter. The numbers say that no matter what happens, the Jazz are going to get this number one seed. If you are playing this team that you've lost to once already before, a very unlikable team, the second team in the West that's playing great basketball, Chris Paul, Devin Booker, if those guys don't make you angry and make you feel like this game doesn't mean something, well, then what the are you doing? Like, I just don't understand, like, what is it that gets you fired up then? Because this is exactly the kind of game that you want. And to lose it and then to watch, just I'm tired of, we played a good team to the end and I feel good about that. And that got me thinking, like, we keep saying that. We keep saying that over and over again. And I'm just going to go off the top of our head here. I'd say in each league, in each conference, there's a couple different contenders or teams we consider contenders. And let's think about what the Jazz record's been against those teams when both teams are fully healthy, right? So the Clippers, 3 games, but we really got to split with their best and our best. Is that fair? 1-1? There was the one game that we won that was nothing.
Fair.
So
that's fair.
So Lakers we can't do. We got to throw it out because we only played one game and it was not the full Lakers. So who else do we put in that category? Phoenix. Have we beat Phoenix yet?
We lost both.
0-2.
Yeah, no, exactly. We lost to Phoenix.
They got the tiebreaker. So if they win more games, they win.
Yeah. So the Nuggets, full strength Nuggets. We play the Nuggets full strength twice. What's that one?
1-1.
1-1. Okay.
Split.
And I would say for me that's about the contender status in the West. I mean, I guess the Portland, the secret Portland Trailblazer fans who masquerade as Jazz fans would throw Portland in there.
There's a lot of them. There's a lot of them.
There are dozens of us.
Dozens.
But if we go out east, then so we go the top. We only played a full strength Philly one time, right? And what happened?
1-1.
We lost. Yeah, we lost that one. And then we can't do the Nets because they kicked our asses with
only Kyrie.
And then we beat them with nobody. And so then we'll go Milwaukee. So and we beat Milwaukee twice, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we did.
So, I mean, the one thing I will give the Jazz credit for is they're not the old Jazz. They have been stopping the mediocre teams. They've been really, I mean, that is a difference. I feel good about when we play these bad teams and we blow them out. But I think that the rest of us that have, and I will take a step further, some of the national media folks who will ask, are the Jazz for real? I don't even know what that record is, but it's nothing that like makes you feel awesome about anything. I think
you should follow HP Basketball if you want to know what that record is.
Well, it puts us at about 500, right? So that makes you feel like, okay, it's a toss-up. So for every, I mean, I guess the whole circular argument is like this is like you follow sports because of the emotion and the passion. And you want to see these things, and if you think that playing Phoenix doesn't matter, like I can't get down with that. Like I'm sorry, like I just don't understand what you're doing then, and that's pretty much it. I'm gonna stop right there.
Yeah, like I've said, what we said I said last week that I was like, I feel like most of these games don't matter, and this is one of the few games I was like, well, it feels like it matters a little bit. The
tiebreaker game, it matters.
I'm very pragmatic anyway, so like a loss doesn't really bother me that much. Jared, it's the hottest segment on live podcasting. Temperature check for Utah Jazz, Jared.
I mean, we're as hot as a rising Phoenix sun, as Brian said pre-pod, but not in a good way. Hot in that our guys are seeming to burn out, and like Jordan Clarkson, we're gonna set Who up for a nice little rant later about Jordan Clarkson.
About everybody. So
yeah.
I got Slender. I got Slender.
He's got a burn book. He's got a jazz burn book. So yeah.
Yeah. So Brian, I don't know how often you listen, but so we do a temperature check. So you as a fan, after the stretch or whatever, how do you feel as a Jazz fan right now about this team?
How dare you? I listen to every episode that I possibly can.
Whatever. What are the dozens? There are dozens of you. What are the dozen listeners? I love it.
I'm a high noter. There's no doubt about this. I'm an OG high noter.
Yes. It's Hyman noters.
Let's
is what it is.
go Hyman's noters.
Well, I'll tell you this much: my hymen is still intact after tonight, but it sounds like a lot of Jazz fans have lost theirs. I never too high, never too low. That's always my temperature check on this Jazz team this season. And I just don't. I think this is the difference between when you start to look at teams in terms of a fan and start to look at it in terms of, okay, this is a team that I've worked for or I've covered or things of that nature. You try and take a long-term view of everything. And I don't know that I'm super upset about losing to the Suns in terms of how this relates to the entire season. What I'm upset about is that now Phoenix Suns fans can talk trash to us on the internet, and that makes my timeline, and I don't want to see that. Because then there's more arguments, and arguments suck. Because most people on the internet are two things. They're at talking trash, and they're at arguing. And Phoenix Suns fans are the elite of the elite in being bad at both of those things. And the more I have to see them on my timeline, now I'm getting hot. So my temperature check is going through the roof because I don't want to see that stuff. As far as the game goes, I think, look, it's 82 games. It's a long season. I'm with Logan. Fan how you want to fan, but just don't get bitter if I point out how bad you are at being a fan, right? Yeah. And the other thing too, and this will be my closing little take. The worst takes on the internet happen immediately after an emotional loss.
Yep, that's pretty true. But in the great words of Monty Python, 'tis but a scratch, or a Monty Python character, the Black Knight.
No, that's a great point. As I wrote down all my rants and I got angrier and angrier, I knew as I say these things they weren't going to age well. And by the time we listen to this on Thursday, it's not going to be nearly as good as it felt now. And I think you're right. I think that the Suns fans on Twitter are kind of like the Padre fans of baseball Twitter. It's hard to handle.
Wow, you're going to Brian. Wow.
Sorry, I saw the pods on the television. I couldn't help
it. So yeah, shout out to
Has anybody ever quit mid podcast? Because
I saw Brian.
We did have Tiffany. We did have Tiffany.
His lip. He was like, "I'm gonna whoop."
So shout out to Plant-Based Chad, Life-Based Chad. Plant-Based Chad, he's one of these emotional Twitter followers that I followed today, and he was very, very angry about the game today, and I just he talked about how sports writers, and I kind of told him hey, I'm a sports journalist too, and you figure it out, and I appreciate
from the ledge, my friend. Yeah.
I appreciate the Jazz fans who can be emotional, because that's not me anymore, right? I'm very pragmatic. I say pessimistic or whatever. It's all good. The Jazz game was done, and then boom, I'm 5 minutes later ready for this episode. I'm ready to go. But I get Logan still likes the Jazz fans, Jazz enough to get heated. I think Jared, I see Jared's tweets during, so I appreciate you guys still being able to bring that fire and desire to the pod here.
Hi, I'm McCoy.
Hi, I'm Emily.
And we're the Jazzy Gals. If you're looking for in-depth Utah Jazz basketball analysis, this ain't it.
But if you are looking to discuss how great Rudy's beard looked this week, Jazz Twitter crushes, or other fun pop culture things, you have come to the right place.
That's right, and you can find us wherever you get your podcasts.
And also on Twitter at JazzyGalsPod. Go Jazz!
Go Jazz!
So guys, I mean, 2 bad losses, right? Like, oh, okay. I mean, bad losses, 2 losses. Let's just say 2 losses. I know, fans lose their minds. But there are some things that do concern me about the Jazz, and I think I said this pre-pod in our pod, little setup meeting, that there's not enough slander on this Jazz podcast for Jazz players. Bogey, you're gonna get a pass because basically all the slander I've had for you still exists.
Been all season. But you've also been doing it all year, so.
Well, I mean, it's the same stuff. Like nothing. The thing is that nothing's changed. But it's nice when you make shots. So thank you, Bogey, for showing up and making some shots today. That was helpful. But man, there's some very weird Jazz things that I like. So Rudy Gobert today, right, got hit in the head, and then he had to be wheeled out on a stretcher into the ambulance, but miraculously was able to break out of the ambulance and return to the steel cage match. I text Logan, and so like Rudy flops a little bit, and this has kind of bothered me. And somebody had responded to Logan like, this is the first time that Rudy's done it. Like he actually does this a lot. Like if you watch and you notice, like a lot of times he'll drive in, not get a call. He grabs his head a lot. Like he grabs his head a lot. And one thing I would like to see from Rudy is when he goes in and we all talk, he needs to dunk more. I think he just needs to go up strong.
Yeah, don't
more.
Be a bitch. Go up strong.
It's just it looks bad when he goes up there and he tries to do these.
He goes up there
weird,
looking for a call. It's embarrassing.
Double clutch stuff. So the reason I think it's not great because it doesn't help his rep is because the referees see that they go, that's not a foul, whatever. You're trying to avoid contact or whatever. I see you I see him grab his head every game. The referees know it, and that's why today he got smacked in the face. Could have been a 50-50 call. Maybe, but he also, went down to the ground. I think the Jazz had to use a timeout, or I don't know if there's an injury timeout the referees call or use whatever. But, he goes down to the ground, and he's not concussed. And as much as Rudy, that's one part of his game.
He sat there and laid there. I was kind of pissed at him for how long he laid there. When the fact he got up and still played in the game, I'm like, okay, if you aren't legitimately hurt, that was garbage. Like that was garbage to lay there for a full minute and make your team take a timeout because you didn't get up. That was garbage.
That's bad for the reputation because he's not going to get calls because if you're known as an embellisher, then they're not going to call you when you actually do get fouled. Brian, thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think we're talking about a Frenchman, and the first time that a Frenchman stands up to trouble, it will be literally the first time. No. Sorry, Jared. Jared. I know that's your adopted homeland. I think there are times, and this is one of those situations where on the outside we don't know what's going on 9 times out of 10 with those guys inside the tube, as they like to say, on the airplanes and the traveling and everything like that. It looked like Rudy was having a bad night tonight. Like he looked grumpy. He looked like somebody didn't get him his tea before the game or whatever it was. And when he has those nights, he tends to kind of have a little pity party for himself. And the issue that I see with this is the longer you let that fester and grow and carry on from game to game to game, the bigger a problem it gets to be. And you get to the point where he was last year, where he was so kind of obsessed with the fact that he wasn't getting enough touches and this, that, and the other. It's that fine line of using criticism as motivation and letting criticism seep into your thoughts and channel your energy towards it. And I think he kind of crossed the line tonight to where it was, I should get calls because I'm this guy and I never get them. And the pity party showed out, especially I think when he got hit in the head. That being said, he's still one of the top 5 best big men in the NBA. And we saw tonight especially that without him against this Phoenix team, the Jazz are in trouble. Derek Favors is not the answer to what Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton can do in the pick and roll. And that's been the case for forever with Chris Paul, right? When he has a big man who can roll to the hoop and he can hoop it, like it's an almost unstoppable combination. We saw it with Tyson Chandler. We saw it with
Favors isn't big enough, and he's not a vertical threat to stop.
We saw it with
DeAndre Jordan right? should still owe him half his salary for the rest of his life.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
DeAndre, Clint Capella, Logan. So this is the slander part. And I'll apologize to fans who about the slander, but Logan, let's get your take first.
Yeah, for me, it brought back memories of another dramatic situation that took place on a court that was not to be. And you got me with wheelchair, and out of respect to I'm assuming I'm going to break the news here. Rudy's good friend Paul Pierce. Out of respect for Paul Pierce having a rough, an equally rough and great week, it was an homage to Paul Pierce and just some good fits thrown on the court. Well, isn't the backstory on that his wheelchair game that he
crapped his pants?
Yeah, that's what I've heard. Right.
I mean, he's denied it categorically, but I still believe that that's the case.
Yeah. So it was a run at just trying to pay homage to Paul. That's the way I look at it. But no, it was bad. It was not good. It was really not good. And I think Brian makes a good point because that's part of the fuel that drives Rudy. And sometimes I think you play with it's a tricky balance to keep, so.
Yeah. The thing is that when you avoid contact and then you try to get a call every time, and we saw it with Bogey for a while, the referees take note of that, no pun intended. And they're like, all right, well, we've seen Rudy embellish stuff before. So now we're going to have to really see it before we call fouls. So before we move on, because there are a bunch of other players that we're going to put on what Jared says the bird book here. It's not that and Brian said hey, we like these players. There are certain things now that we're 60 games into the season, I would really like to see Rudy go stronger and not grab his head every time he thinks there's a foul. There might be, but it's also the NBA and they're not going to call everything. And if you really want to get your foul calls, stop trying to up and under layups and go up stronger, and then the referees will be like, oh yeah, he definitely got hit because the ball came out weird out of his hands as opposed to doing his up and under layups.
I want Rudy to show up in one of those rugby helmets for a game.
That'll protect his dome.
Make a statement.
Right.
So, like an old timey football helmet, maybe.
Yeah, leatherhead. Let's do this.
All right, so next on my list of slander, again, a guy I really like, and so Royce has not been shooting the three very well, has been doing, here's the thing with Royce, and this is where the Bojan slander was coming, is whenever Royce is not having a good offensive game or something, or one part of his game is not doing well, he's usually really good at doing other things. But part of the problem is his confidence is gone. We don't know what happened to it. It's missing. Someone put up a missing poster for it, please, because the way the Jazz pinball machine works is that if he gets up a shot, he has to take it. And he's learning part of that from him and Bojan had a possession where they each hesitated taking an open three, and it cost the Jazz in regulation because that probably would have I don't care that they missed the shot. I just care that you gave the defender half a second to get in better position to guard you, and maybe that's why you missed the shot as opposed to taking it right. And this was the same position. Royce passed it up, and then Bogey, I don't know what he was thinking. He took a weird pump fake and then took the shot. I was like, oh, well, that's not great. I even put out there, and
I 100% think that Royce needed to take that shot. I feel like that possession is I don't care how you're feeling. In those situations, Royce, you are historically good. That is where you make your bread and butter. Take that damn shot.
And then I put the thing because we saw earlier Bojan took that sidestep three again that looked unneeded, and I put out there, what does everybody think about that three again? And Jared was like, Jared, what you say? You said he takes it.
The unnecessary ones bother me. The ones where you understand why he's doing them, but the unnecessary ones, it's why? Why are you doing it?
That's why we brought it up. We brought it up because he does it he does it a lot.
Yeah,
he does it a lot. That
he's in love with it, and it's bothers me.
Dragon Squash Logan, Royce O'Neal. What do you got for him?
With Royce, I believe I tweeted out that Royce would not crack the rotation on the current Baylor squad. So I think that pretty well sums up. I mean, it's the thing about Royce that's tricky is I think he's asked to do a lot of things that he shouldn't have to do. I mean, we've said this before. He's a 6'4" guard who a lot of nights is almost playing power forward, at least defensively, because
is he a guard though, or is he a small forward? I don't know.
Okay, well, Jared, go ahead. Your turn.
Wing. He's a wing.
I'm asking you. Is he a guard or is he a small forward?
He's at 6'4" as a guard. Like right? Like when did 6'4" not be a guard? Unless we're playing PJ Tucker ball. Like 6'4" is a guard, and 6'4" is like used to be a point guard to some degree. But I mean, either way. But what I'm saying is Royce gets asked to do a lot. Like in that, so I'm a little more hesitant to jump in on him. I wish he would shoot the ball more, absolutely. But he's asked to do a lot of weird things. Like he's like a lot of times with the starting lineup, he's supposed to be now our second best rebounder. That's just that there's a lot of weird things we ask him to do, and I don't know that he answers the call more times than not. I do wish he would shoot the ball. To your guys' point, his numbers say he should shoot it, and this is kind of like remnants of last year, especially in the bubble, right, when he just wouldn't pull the trigger, and that is a little worrisome, I guess, as the games get a little more important, they get a little tighter. So I mean, it's just he's asked to do a lot though. So I've been pretty adamant that I don't understand how defense works. So I don't know if he's playing good defense or not, because some people tell me yes, some people tell me no. I made the mistake of saying that we didn't win the Favors-Sark matchup, and I was immediately told that none of that was Derek Favors' fault. So I'm still don't know how defense works. I got no clue how defense works.
Hey, I think the point that Logan's trying to make here is that at 6'4", whether it's small forward or power forward, he's short for what position he's being asked to play. Small forward, power forward.
That's very fair. That's very fair.
I think another observation on Royce, and I'm with Logan on this one, like he played 32 minutes tonight. That's too much for him. And we've all said all along that the fatal flaw with this Jazz team as they move forward is that they're missing a longer wing defender that can take on a bigger bulk of the load. I think everybody on Twitter, on the internet, even people who are living out in the middle of a forest with only getting newspapers wanted a Trevor Ariza type player to join this roster, and we went out and got Ersan Ilyasova and Matt Thomas. So
man, we should have signed Torrey Craig, man. Freaking
well, I mean, if for no other reason than he wouldn't hit 4 threes against us in one single game, right?
Freaking
well, the Jazz had no avenue to get Torrey Craig, so
they got Torrey Craig for nothing though.
What are you talking about?
The Suns had
zero,
space.
I think.
The Suns had space to take in Torrey Craig. The Jazz did not.
The Jazz could have cut somebody and taken Torrey Craig.
Over the cap still. You can't take him. You can't. They would have to trade somebody.
Oh wait,
out.
are you saying that they got him on the waiver wire?
No, they traded for him, and it was something like
Jazz,
nothing.
Yeah, but we could have
trade exception.
We could have traded some garbage. We could have traded a George Niang.
What did the Jazz have to? Okay, I mean, I get what you're saying, but
if we're saying we can't figure out a trade for Torrey Craig, we're really in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, right.
We better hope he's 12 or the 12.
No, but that was the thing before the trade deadline. The Jazz, again, we talked about it. The Jazz had no tradable assets, so that's kind of what it is.
But it was nothing. I mean, you could have traded George Niang and a second round pick, or something.
The Jazz were going to trade their 1 through 9 to 1 through 9. The Jazz were not going to trade away. So yeah, I just
don't feel like George really deserves to be in that untradeable discussion 1 through 9. But
how dare you? How else are you going to fit all 9 players somewhere, Jared? You have to have a minivan.
That's good stuff.
How are they going to get to the game?
John Stockton will pull up with his minivan.
Matt Thomas is getting a little driver's ed.
The Jazz, last person on the burn list, I guess, or whatever we're calling it. Here's the thing: Jordan Clarkson has gotten a pass because he had a really great start to the season, and we're talking about regression, we're talking about all this stuff, but we're talking about Jordan Clarkson kind of being who he is. Like, this is the same game that we've seen him do in LA and Cleveland, and it worked really well for the Jazz in the first 16 games because have you guys heard what the Jazz offense, like what they want to do once they catch the ball?
Shoot.
No.
I don't know.
I don't know. So yeah, it's a React offense, right? So this is, I've heard this from
like Golden State, read React.
It's a lock thing, like or lock, or somebody was saying it. It's like they have half a second to make a decision. So as soon as they catch the ball, it's either shoot, dribble, or pass. Like they're all trained to do that. And if you watch it, like you see it, like the Jazz, whoever gets the ball, they almost know exactly what they're going to do once they get it, and that's what made the Jazz offense so potent. Jordan Clarkson though is like the one that gets the leash, and that's kind of who he is, like, right? Like he's the ISO player. He's the guy that try to score in different levels. Quinn Snyder told
Clarkson.
Clarkson.
I feel like he needs to rein in that leash a little bit, honestly.
Okay, so now this is where coaching comes in, right? So Quinn Snyder, when JC first came, was like, okay, here you go. When you get the ball, I want you to take a 3-pointer or a layup or in the paint shot, nothing mid-range. And that's what Jordan. And the thing is that for the first 16, 17, 18, 20 games, whatever it was, it worked, and that's fine. But then when it doesn't work, like we're trying to pull the reins on a player that this is what he's here to do. And it just kind of sucks because playmaking wise, Jordan Clarkson's not asked to playmake. Jordan Clarkson's asked to get a bucket. And Joe Ingles, Mike Conley, Donovan Mitchell, those are guys that you want the ball you want the ball in their hands more often than that. Logan, do you have any Jordan Clarkson takes here?
What you've said is all pretty well spot on. I mean, when I watch Jordan Clarkson play, I don't necessarily think he's playing different than he was at the beginning of the season. It's just the shots were going in earlier and they're not going in now. Like, I don't necessarily see a drastic change in the way he's playing. It's just that, I mean, there was one point in time when everyone was, what's everyone's favorite little, not favorite, one of their favorite little stats, the 50-40-90 or something.
Yeah. We had that in the Clarkson corner.
There was a legitimate conversation for that for a while, and there was a lot of people saying he's never played like this. Is this sustainable? You've still got to roll with it. I mean, that's what he was brought in to do. You just hope he just starts knocking down some shots. I mean, it's a very, very passive answer, but I think that he hasn't been very good for a while. It's just he continues to play his game, to his credit. He doesn't. That's the one thing I'll give him over Bogey, is he hasn't stopped playing his game. Bogey has this season somehow I was make my way back to hating Bogey, but Clarkson has continued to play his game, and you just got to hope that at some point the shots start falling. That generic make or miss league, I guess. But it is concerning, but I don't know what else you can do about it. That's what he's supposed to do. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that's true. Like that was my take. I don't know if that's true. Brian, what
must
do you
be true then.
Jordan?
Roy High says it's true.
Right.
Roy Royals.
Roy.
You all can take the paintbrush out of Picasso's hands, but I'm just going to sit here and admire the art that is Jordan Clarkson. You do realize that I host the internet's only Jordan Clarkson podcast.
Wait, what?
I'm sorry, what?
Which
I host the internet's only Jordan Clarkson podcast. That's what the Beehive Voice is.
Oh,
that's all it is. We're
but
just
you
a
have
Jordan Clarkson podcast.
You gotta put out an episode, man. We don't know what you are. You haven't put out an episode in like
no one knows.
You found a lost episode like 3 months ago. We've been starving for content ever since.
Kudos to you guys for imitating him. Truly, you guys have also disappeared for a while. So tip of the cap.
Listen, we're saving him for the playoffs, just like the rest of the Jazz.
That's all we need. That's all we need.
JB, Jared Barker, you're the conductor. You are in the corner of Clarkson. You said you were kind of off the bandwagon, which is kind of surprising to me. I'm
pissed. I tweeted that I was building a shrine, and he's like screwing me over. Like, what the hell, Jordan?
Is he screwing you over just because he's not?
Because he hates me. He doesn't want to play. He doesn't want to play the way he was playing earlier in the year. He doesn't want to read React. He wants to.
Lemonade.
Okay, did you guys know? Hey, I only had one of those. Shut up. So, Calypso, sponsor us. Give us money. Honestly, I kind of wish sometimes that we did like a live show where random Jazz Twitter people would come on and like yell things at us and go away, because that would be awesome. I would have a lot of fun with that. I know you would hate it, but I would love it.
That's your show. Yeah. So
We'll let Jared produce that one, right?
Yeah, Jared can have that one. That's all him. Go follow him. High Notes France. All right.
But in French, confused the hell out of everybody. He's just yelling at people.
So the again, JC thing again for me. I just want to reiterate. That it really is just like, hey, he's doing what he's doing. That is what it is. That's what he was brought here to do.
Hey, shout out to my friend Pedronet on Twitter. Who's also my future co-host on High Notes France when his internet comes back up.
Good Lord.
So, I lost my train of thought. Okay, so
nobody blames you.
Yeah, exactly. Jordan, JC here.
Shut up, both. I hate you all. What did you want me to get back to when it came to Clarkson? Because you were looking for something that I did not deliver at all. So I
was gonna move on. And so, JC, again, this is a game we talked about it, and with JC, it is what it is. Again, he's. So the question is do we want Quinn to try to change his coaching style? Because literally, what made him so good in the first half, Jared, was, hey, go do what you do, go out there and score buckets.
Well, now what he's doing is you must cut down the mightiest tree in the forest with a herring.
Yes, and but if you're Quinn Snyder, do you tell Jordan, okay, so now you want, because that's not his game. His game is to go out there and do it. You want to change his game with 25-ish games or whatever's left to the playoffs.
I want to interject here and just say one thing, that Quinn Snyder probably deserves Coach of the Year honors just for getting Jordan Clarkson to buy in and play defense. And his defense has been substantially average, I would say,
which is huge
even
for him.
Slightly above average, which for him, he's blocked multiple shots this year.
No.
I mean, those kinds of things, and that's we fans are really adept at finding the things that they see over and over and over again that frustrate them. In fact, one of my favorite things to do whenever another team signs a free agent or trades for somebody, I like to go to message boards or whatever and read what other fans write about it, because fans know the flaws better than anyone. And I think there is an argument to this Jordan Clarkson, do you let him cook or do you let him burn the lasagna from time to time and hope that it doesn't catch you in a playoff series? And the benefit is that you're going to get 7 games of Jordan Clarkson. So take any 7-game stretch and tell me how many of those were bad games for Clarkson. Has he had 7 straight yet this year? I don't think he has.
No,
I don't have the stats in front of me. So that's where I kind of look at this in the grand scope. For me, the regular season is done. I don't even care what the Jazz do in the regular season until the very last of the season when we're trying to figure out seeding, right? Because here you have LeBron and AD out here trying to submarine everybody and get the 6th or the 7th seed so that they can knock out their toughest competition in the first round like a bunch of a-holes. And the same thing is happening with Brooklyn, right? And all these guys are going to sit out for the last few months of the season so that they can be fresh. So what I really want to find out is where the Jazz slot themselves at the end of the year. And then let's start talking about, okay, can Clarkson play like this for 7 games? Is at that point, has Bogey regained himself? Will Royce be able to go 30 minutes a game? Because that's what you're going to need from him in order to win a lot of these playoff series. And the difficulty of it is that there's not a whole lot that the Jazz can do right now to improve the roster. You're kind of stuck with it. So if you're Quinn Snyder, the overarching thing is how much do I mess with things right now? How much do I save for the playoffs? And how much do I try and tinker with this to try and get us that much better for when we do hit those superstar teams?
Yeah. Very, very well said, Brian. Thank you very much. Again, the slander is sort of tongue-in-cheek, but also hey, these are just some things that we look at and worry because the Jazz are still in first place.
Yeah.
The Jazz are probably still going to be the first seed or, second seed, or they're still going to be a pretty high seed going into playoffs. The Jazz team is still a good team. So now you got to nitpick. Now you got to go and figure out, all right, cool. Are these things going to come back and haunt us in 30 games here? And that's kind of why we're here. I'm not mad at any of them. Am I mad about Rudy not going as strong? A little bit, but he's also, affects the game in so many ways. Am I mad at Royce for not taking the 3? Yeah, I am. But again, I think he'll figure that out. And again, Royce is the guy that the Jazz have do all the dirty work, stuff that he probably shouldn't have to do, like Logan said, and he doesn't. and JC again had a very great first 16 games. He may not be the the sixth man of the year front runner anymore, but it is what it is. So.
Hey, I'm Mark.
And this is Doug. What's up?
And we're co-hosts of a weekly podcast on the Utah Jazz called Twos and Threes. It's available on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, and wherever else you get podcasts on your feed every Monday morning.
Mark's my big brother, and you could say this podcast is a family affair, but really we think of the Jazz and Jazz Nation as our family. So we'd love for you to participate with us, to listen, and really, let's do this together. Go Jazz.
Go Jazz, be our family. Boom.
Anyway.
No, Mark Jackson's saying he's the de facto guy still, so it was funny. I got a kick out of listening to that. Mark
to be fair, he is, because Joe Ingles is not going. Again, this is all media stuff, right? It's all narrative. So Jordan Clarkson has the narrative because he's the guy who scores and nobody cares about.
That's all regular season awards are, is narrative. So
yeah, except for MVP, and even then.
MVP is a little bit.
But yeah, I think with Jordan Clarkson, I don't know who else there. I mean, I don't know who else is having a good year off the bench. I don't know.
I would
maybe Brandon
Crawford
would come out of.
Yeah, you used to vote Boucher, wouldn't or whether Chris Boucher.
Chris Boucher.
Boucher.
Yeah, right now the odds, Clarkson's minus.
I just keep reading it in English. So
to win. I would say yeah, but you never say Rudy Gobert, so that's I don't.
Yeah,
understand.
well, Connor, shut up.
Here, I'll just read real quick some of the other odds. We have Montrezl Harrell, Chris Boucher, Joe Ingles, Shake Milton, Terrence Ross, Goran Dragic.
Shake's having a very good year too.
Yeah, but
anyway,
he's got no conversation for sixth man at this point, right? So if he's gonna do it, he's gonna have to do some monster work. Yeah, and I also wonder, if you start to, and maybe this is me being a little bit favorite with my employer, David Locke, but he talks about how many games teams are playing right now. And so you're going to start to see a lot of bad performances from teams. And I think, to whose point, you're going to see a lot of the stuff that frustrates the hell out of us happen more often, especially with this Jazz team.
Yeah, you're probably right. I'm starting to wonder what tomorrow's going to look like, because we know Mike's going to sit, so who's going to step up tomorrow? And
Joe Ingles.
Are you sure?
This is what bothers me about the sixth man, because it was everybody crowned him at game 18. I was like, oh, cool, we have 75 games left, or 72 games this season, and after game 18 or 20, it was like, all right.
Oh no, game 30, I crowned him. No, I waited.
And well, then again, it seems premature, is what I'm saying. So
do I get to throw somebody in the burn book?
Yes, do it.
I mean, you go for it.
Yeah, I want to. Who was the play-by-play guy tonight? Was it what's his name?
Mark Jackson and David Pash.
Dave Pash. I'm throwing him in the burn book because Donovan had 41 points and he kept talking about Devin Booker having 32 and 34. He was the leading scorer in the game in overtime.
Annoying.
That's awesome.
Mark Jackson was less annoying than Pash tonight. That was crazy.
Yeah, and Pash also tried to say that Monty Williams was the de facto coach of the year, and Mark Jackson had to put him back in his place.
Right.
A little interesting.
He's in the conversation.
Right.
Hey, and Mark Jackson threw Devin Booker and Donovan Mitchell into MVP conversation. That was freaking cool.
Guys, I've heard personal stories. Here's the thing. We've heard personal stories about Mark Jackson. I would rather not give him any more airtime on this podcast. So he's an awful human being. He's a real. So
that's absolutely a fact.
The Jazz, Quinn Snyder. It's such a weird time, and number one, great burn book there, Brian. It is what it is, right? It is what it is. The Jazz. I don't know. I tend not to get mad about national attention about it because
there's plenty of it out there, and Jazz fans are always going to have an axe to grind against it because they really have taken the brunt end of it from a lot of national media. And this season, is a perfect example of it, right? Nobody wants to talk about how great the Jazz are, or how record-breaking they've been, or how fun it is to watch. Everybody wants to talk about, well, are they a legitimate contender? And it's like, well, who is really a legitimate contender right now anyways? We're in the middle of the season. And so I like some of it is you just kind of have to eat it as a Jazz fan until things actually change. And my philosophy this season has been to enjoy everything that I can and then hope we get to the playoffs and then say nothing and just pray to the God of Jerry Sloan that the Jazz can pull it off this season, because I don't think I can take any more close calls. 1998. It's a miracle I'm still here.
Hey,
all right.
Friend of
Well,
the pod or one-time guest, he had an interesting take that I'd like to touch on. Tony Park said, as a fan, you're in a really good spot when your star scores 41, you're number 1 in the NBA, you lost an OT to the number 2 regular season team, and you're pissed. Remember when anyone scoring 30 wasn't normal? When the Wheezy was popular? Oh, my goodness.
Oh.
When a player said they were proud, they cut San Antonio Spurs lead to 7.
Copy and paste all those tweets for every time we played a good team in the last 2 months as our consolation prize.
I just think that was funny.
Taking
I
a
just
good
thought it was
team to
funny.
win it.
I just think it was funny.
We're falling into Logan is falling into same old Jazz mode. It sounds like so.
I thought I was back to being calm and balanced, but this Jazz team this year has sucked me back into my old habits. So I don't even give a shit anymore. I'm gonna be irrational. I'm gonna be all over the place, and I'll change my mind and flip around. It's okay. There's no one who has any rules.
Yeah,
Twitter
isn't
isn't real anyways. None of us are real people doing real things, and Twitter's never solved a world problem. If anything, it's only caused more world problems. So It is what it is. I guess it just goes back to what your expectation level is. And it's not to criticize one person's choice over the other. Some people are all about the journey and enjoying this all the way around. And if we get upset in the first round by the 8 seed Grizzlies, they'll find a way to spin it as being positive, and more power to you. But I'm not really into that. Like, I want to see a championship. And so, like, if I'm hypercritical, it's because those little things I think are separators. Like, there's a couple things that like happen in these games that are different. There was important free throws down the stretch. It was either the end of regulation or the end of overtime. Devin Booker went 1 of 2. Donovan Mitchell went 1 of 2. You know who didn't go 1 of 2?
Chris
Paul didn't go 1 of 2. And it's little things like that, and it's fine. I am a fan. I'm not going to hide the fact that of the Jazz I'm irrational. I can't watch it, and as the year started, it was more balanced, but it is. I want to see. I don't want to see anything other than the championship, and I'll be disappointed if it doesn't happen. Like, that's where I stand on it, and it's not gonna change. And all of us, even as balanced as we are, we've all got that one little hole for some team or something somewhere where we're irrationally like locked into it, and that's where it is. So yeah, we're getting into the nitty gritty. Yeah, but that's just the way it is. I don't want to see an earlier exit and then have to just live through that whole thing again. I mean, I think they've got as good a shot as any this year. So,
how much do you think the pressure of like the expectations for the Jazz is affecting the fan base right now? Because I think it's starting to seep in on a lot of people. Like Logan's saying, we all want this, right? And now when you start to see these flaws come up and you're like, now you're worried about it, right? Because when they were beating teams by 20 and 30 points, it felt like it was infallible to me anyways. And now you start to doubt what you saw. And you're right. Like, there's little things that are popping up again. Like, well, okay, is the rebounding an issue? Is it the late game free throws? Are those becoming an issue? And so I kind of wonder if that's having an influence on things as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. You're trying to fine tune for the big one, You're not just trying to fine tune to get to the second round or be better than last year. Like, you're trying to you want to fine tune for the elite part of it all. And that's where my mindset is different. And there's also those weird things that give you questions I'm sure that there's 1,000 stats to tell me otherwise, because every time I feel like I make a point, there's a number that tells me I'm wrong. But I mean, every time
it's called the McGade effect.
But every time they shoot it, and they shoot poorly, it's called a make or miss. It's called a make or miss league. So it's like, all right, well, I mean, yeah, we've been shooting at a historic clip, but I sure as hell hope we can sustain that. We haven't seen
I'm so glad we had that episode earlier in the season, Logan, because that's been the theme of the year, like of late. People keep saying make or miss league, and I'm with you. Man, that phrase is really starting to grind.
I just looked at the schedule. It's wild. So the Jazz had back-to-back losses to start the month of March, and now back-to-back losses to start the month of April, and they had back-to-back losses to start the month of January.
That's April. We're in Death
January was the only one that they didn't start with
Right.
2 losses.
Yeah. Sorry, that was a really
no,
random.
it's
No,
fine,
it was cool.
And to answer your question, I think that's why I kind of asked this whole temperature check, because when the Jazz were riding high, I was trying to like rate it in like, hey guys, never too high, right? And that's why I was like, give me your temperature check now, because I want to, remember what you said 2 months ago when the Jazz were on a 15-game win streak or whatever, or 11-game win streak, versus when they have a 2-game losing streak. Because honestly, like Logan said, tomorrow it'll just be back to almost, right where we're even killed. And having a bad loss will change that. So,
but if they lose, if Utah loses and Dame goes off for 74, and all the Jazz fans get super wet over that, and he beats us, and then Chris and Cliff Paul go up and get
present company accepted
in the Clippers. We're tied in the loss column, and I understand the schedules are supposed to get easy for us and hard for him, but do we really feel good about that? Like if we're tied in the loss column, and again,
no.
but then at that point, Chris Paul and his band of misfits then own they control their own destiny.
Yep, that's true.
Another thing to point out is it would be the first three-game losing stretch so far for the Jazz, and it's happening in the back third of the season to all
freaking trash
NBA playoff opponents. Like that's
we've
when you
asked
start to
them,
get like a little nervous.
Peak
right?
too early.
Yeah. Well,
Shout out to Dan Clay.
that's where it's weird. Is like I flipped the schedule open this week because I listened to all the pods and follow the Twitter stuff, and like we talked about tough stretches of schedules, but this is a pretty damn tough one, and no one said a thing about it. We're talking Dallas.
Well,
Dallas.
I don't know. I saw
Dallas,
somebody talking about it. Right.
Yeah, it was me. No, I've got no idea. But this is not an easy stretch. I don't know who they play after this. Who they play after Portland?
Sacramento. At home, Saturday night.
Sacramento's not terrible.
But that's, you're Monday,
good.
Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday. You're 4-7, right? Or 4-6.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty tough.
Ugly.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, so that's our job. I'm trying to be better at not being a depressing Jazz fan, because I realize that not everybody can shut off their emotions like I do when it comes to, life. And so, anyway, I'm sorry if that depressed everybody.
Hey, you and Hema tweeted a great Twitter game tonight, so hats off to both of you guys.
Yeah,
all those John Cleese gifts and videos.
We do. I wonder if you have something for Saturday. We'll see. Anyway, Brian. Brown Bear at Brown Bear SLC. So Logan brought this up probably a month ago. So this whole Jazz pod co-op thing has gotten pretty big, gotten pretty popular. And he was like, I think Logan, you said something like you wanted to slide them in, the Beehive Boys or something like that. Do you remember?
Yeah, just ask if they're members of. It was in the shout out session. If they're members of the Jazz pod co-op, and Jared came in the last second and got me with the chair and didn't let me extend the offer and said that David Locke wouldn't allow it. And so I never was able to try to see if they take the JPC shirt or not.
I was just trying to give Brian like a way out just in case.
Here's the thing. I think you actually have to podcast in the year 2021 to be a part of the co-op.
Hey, you can buy
literally
shirts,
haven't recorded an episode since June of 2020, so
right. So
we need to re.
Well, the Jazz pod is still they're still a member of the co-op, but they're still on hiatus. Well, I should say he, because it's run by Matt Sanchez. Shout out to Matt Sanchez, GOAT.
Yeah. Well, the co-op again. So this is for those who don't know what the co-op is. Just a few of these podcasts that I saw. Pod weekly, so we all kind of DM'd each other, got together and decided, hey, we should kind of just make a podcast like a certain podcast
where they lock on, share guests,
where they podcast where they lock on stuff to be similar about that,
share crib notes.
And so and again, people have asked how do we get on this? So I don't know if they're asking to be guests or to be in the really again, there's no right or wrong way to be part of the podcast. Just go out there, listen to Jazz podcast, because there's different podcasts for anything, for everybody. So Logan, how can they get a Jazz pod co-op t-shirt?
Oh, from our favorite website, doyouwantthis.com, DOUWantthis.com. And Brian's go forward work is to talk to his boss David Locke and see if he can get us Locked On Hyman notes and see if it could be like a JV version of Locked On Jazz, you know. So
right.
If you can put together episodes 5 days a week of that, I will sell the out of that.
I can put together Hyman talk for 5 days. You know, I mean, come on now, Brian. Come on.
Oh man. It's gonna be a PG-13 disclaimer.
Yeah, but you gotta get somebody to edit it for you, Logan. As in when I say edit, I just mean like make it sound good, not bleep out all the nasty.
Wow, Jared. Wow.
Jared, you got some time here. How are you gonna end it today?
Well, I just want to say that we're changing the Clarkson corner today to Bogey Soakers. Shout out to Logan for that one. Because Bojan gets a lot of hate on this podcast, whether deserved or not. I think he's been pretty good lately. He's been the shots have been falling. He was one of the major reasons we were in the game today. Mike's offense didn't show up, and neither did a lot of other guys. And shout out to Bojan Bogdanovic for a good stretch of play.
And by the way,
somebody had Mike Conley the burn book. I didn't even realize he played today.
We were going long. The Rudy Gobert dunk today was pretty good though. The one, the and one. So Brian, so what, again, they can find you at Brown Bear SLC. What have you been up to, man?
Daily podcast for the Locked On Utes, obviously, and there are plans for Beehive Boys to be rebirthed. We may have to swap out my man Mo Sweatshirt though, as he's acquired a player to be named later in a relationship, and so his time is limited. But we've got some feelers out there for some replacement hosts. But yeah, you can find me there on the boards at utezone.com. Clearly a lot of jazz talk going on with those two things that I mentioned, so that's why I'm grateful to come on here and talk jazz with you guys and hang out and have fun. I feel like I was excited about this just because I've always wanted to hang out and podcast with all of you together. So I probably should have been a little bit more angry when I came in here. My bad on that one.
No,
hey. Oh, well, hey, I love this background.
We're not usually angry. Today was just a weird day, and because nobody's. So here's the thing: when Jazz lose, nobody listens to the podcast, which is fine. It is what it is.
Let me tell you, buddy.
Hot takes and shot fakes today. Woo!
Shams just tweeted out that Beehive Boys in talks in acquiring Logan Cox as a free agent. Apparently, I didn't even know how that happened. So
wait, when does his contract expire? I thought you signed him to a 2-year deal.
I work exclusively through Woj, so that's the way it's always been. I don't assign myself with the Athletic.
Right.
But I was going to ask Brian where I send my resume. Like, I will hand deliver it. Just to be this, even the water boy. I'll just sit there, hand you guys water, towel your heads off, whatever you guys want to do. So.
Oh my God. Sources have told me that the Beehive Boys have been in the market to recruit one Logan Cox to the podcast for several months now.
Hey.
I'm always well, not always, but yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready now. I've been stretching.
You can do double duty, man.
The best part about it is, so this is the one thing that I worry about with the Jazz Co-op is that the Beehive Boys, while we do talk jazz, it is decidedly a uniform podcast. It is decidedly a Clarkson podcast. It is a food
uniform podcast.
Yeah, the one thing that we've actually never talked about that we are officially is a jazz podcast. But the good news is that Logan and I can go rounds on the Beehive Boys over the NL West and who's the real king of the coast.
Hey, that'd be fun stuff, especially
for the summer
baseball
podcast,
especially for the summer months.
Who doesn't love a good Padres Rockies battle on a weekly basis?
When I think of the pantheon of rivalries, that's right there at the top with Duke and North Carolina underneath it.
That Tatis injury has me feeling some type of way.
Matt Holliday did touch home plate. Matt Holliday did touch home.
All I know is that Khalil Green and Dinger, the Rockies mascot, almost fought one game. And they had to drag Khalil Green away from him as he yelled, "F you, Dinger, F you."
Gosh, Khalil Green, that's a blast from the past.
There are two people on this podcast currently who know that name.
Jeez Louise. He would have done great with the mullet situation that's taking place later this year. Jeez,
Man ahead of his time.
It was. Trailblazer. It's a little taste of what you'll get on the Beehive Boys 2.0.
The Beehive Boys 2.0 is going to be a mullet podcast as well.
Sure.
Logan, we're gonna play the credit music. Give us our shout outs to end the podcast, please.
Yeah, I got a couple quick shout outs. Kaleem Fields at Fields Kaleem has always one of our good Hyman Note followers, always in there, always participating. Brock Bigler at Mr. Bigler. But the E is a 3. All I'm gonna say is that dude DMs me about things randomly all the time, and I think he can be one of my best friends. He's fantastic.
Brock is great.
And then I can't end it any other way than just shouting out Christian Judd, Christian M. Judd. I made the fatal mistake of tweeting out my Kobe crew yesterday because my guy Never Two Up, Never Two Down found me some Kobe and Gigi Lego minifigs and sent them my direction, and I tweeted them out. I tagged all my people, and I somehow forgot Christian, who's always good with his own personal things. So I will forever be.
Hey, Christian looks like Jesus. That's his deal.
He looks like Kurt Russell. We had that discussion tonight. He's a Kurt Russell guy. I'm a Sylvester Stallone guy. We are Tango and Cash.
That's great. Good stuff.
All right. That's it. We'll see you guys next time.